afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Girl Get Up podcast. I am your host, Miss C. Jones, and this is the podcast where I share my stories. I bring my guests, they share their stories, all in hopes that inspires you, the listening audience, to go out and discover your infinite possibilities. Today, I have a guest. Her name is Dr. Shelley. Dr. Shelley, please share with the audience who you are and what you do.
Thank you so much for having me today. Of course, my name is Dr. Shelley, and what I do by day, 9 to 5, I am an HR person, HR professional. But in reality, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a mentor, I'm a friend, and I love to volunteer. I volunteer a lot here in Memphis, where I'm based,
Okay.
and I do a lot of writing and I do a lot of sister sharing, and I just love to encourage people.
That's so amazing. We love that here. That's one of the things that I love about the show is the encouragement that each of my guests leave the audience with. Now, to get us started, could you share? I like to ask my guests to share a little bit about their aspirations as a youth. Going through your childhood, did you ever imagine that you would be an author, a public speaker, and a coach?
Not all three, for sure, but I did have aspirations to be a writer when I was in school. So I did not know how to write a book. And so I literally would take one of my books, the books that you get at Walden Books back then, or we didn't have Barnes and Noble back then. We would all go to the mall and buy our books then. But I would take one of my books and I would rewrite the book, changing all the nouns and some of the verbs, trying to get a totally new story. And
Hmm.
that's how I thought people wrote books. Of course, me in my, young age, I did not know. By the time I got to high school, I remember I still wanted to write. Poetry was not in me. I could not rhyme. I didn't understand it when it did not rhyme. So I knew stories were exactly where I wanted to land. And I remember my 12th grade English teacher, she was very much involved in what we were going to do after we graduated from high school and what we were going to do if we went to college, et cetera, et cetera. And I told her that I wanted to be a writer. And she said, "Oh, no, Shelley, you cannot be a writer. You are way too verbose. You use too many words. You never get your point across. You talk on and on and on." And she just really deflated me. And she
Wow.
said, "You need to be an accountant. You need to work with numbers and to where you don't have to talk a lot." And I thought, that is so unnatural for me. And so she really discouraged me. My first semester in college, I was a psychology major. I figured that I overanalyze everything. I cannot be a psychologist. So then I took her advice and I thought, well, maybe I am supposed to be an accountant, and people in business make lots of money, so maybe I should. So I spent a semester as an accounting major. Wrong. That was the wrong place for me to be. How boring. No offense if anybody is an accountant out there, but I just love words way too much. I love telling stories. I love helping people imagine and helping them feel and then encouraging people. And so I thought, okay, I need to be someplace where, I could be a little bit creative. So fast forward 20 years, I had a family,
Mhm.
and I finally felt like I had a story to tell. So I started writing books. I started writing children's books first.
Okay.
And that was about 20 years ago. I wrote three children's books. And then now that, I've had some professional experience and some life experience, now I've, kind of pivoted to devotionals for women. And then I just recently released my first adult book called The Pivot Principle: When Changing Direction Happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I love that.
Go, Mrs.
So-
Doolittle.
exactly. But you know what they say, we can do all things.
That's right.
Okay, so let's talk about the book because you wrote a book called The Pivot Principle When Changing Direction Happens. Can you tell us what inspired you to write the book?
Yeah. I have always been a basketball fan, never a basketball player, but always a fan. I always wanted to be on the team. And in 2018, I got my shot, so to speak. I was recruited by the NBA, and
Wow.
I went to work for a an NBA team here in Memphis, Tennessee. And so that was 2018. My son had grown up being a basketball player. So basketball was life for us.
Hmm.
And in 2018, he had an accident at home. He
Oh,
was
wow.
he was mowing the grass, and it had rained a few days before. And essentially, when he was mowing, it was a push mower, where you push it forward and then pull it back. And so when he pulled it back, his foot slipped underneath the mower
Oh, no.
and ended his basketball career. He was a sophomore in high school, but we had lots of hopes and dreams. And at that moment, life really changed for us because everything we had planned was gone. It was gone. And my job as his mom was to help him find a new normal,
Yeah,
in that he no longer could play basketball. Basketball was not going to be the center of our life anymore. And I had to figure out some way to get him back to a new normal. And the next few months and years, we just fell into this routine that helped us navigate change, massive change. And I thought, several months later, I need to write this down because there's something to this routine that we're doing every single day that's really given me a lot of peace, and it's given him a lot of peace. And I think I could teach this to other people and share it, and maybe they can find peace too. And that's really how it all started.
what did that look like? Because I know if something like that happens at home, I know there's a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
That role that you had to take on to kind of be more supportive and take on a caretaker role,
Yeah.
honestly.
It was interesting. I was only 2 weeks into my job. So think about
Wow.
that. I did not have insurance yet when
Mm.
this accident happened. So I wasn't really sure how we were going to pay for that partial amputation, but we found a way. I did not have any time off. I couldn't take FMLA. My boss expected me to be, at the arena every single day. It was really difficult to navigate, being the professional person and being the mom. And right then, the mom identity was much more important than the professional who had just landed her dream job.
Absolutely.
So really had to navigate both of those spaces. And it was difficult to know what to say to Anthony because I did not know how fragile, or if he was fragile at all. I didn't want to harm him and make him
Mhm.
go through the event all over again in his mind. I only wanted to breathe life into him and to encourage him and to let him know we're going to get through this. And so I did a lot of praying. I did a lot of, things by myself without him to help prepare me for the mom that I needed to be for him. And it was quite the journey, quite the journey.
Wow. Whew. What did you learn about yourself through that process? Were you able, did it come naturally to you, or did you have to coach yourself to show up for him every day?
It is so interesting you just use that phrase, coach yourself,
Mhm.
because, and this is a rabbit trail, I'm so sorry, but over the
No
years, people have asked me, Shelley, why don't you do a podcast? And I thought, if I ever do a podcast, it's going to be Coach Yourself,
problem.
because I really want people to be able to talk themselves through things.
Yes.
Think about all the things that are going on in our world and the conflict that people have, and think about this new generation. I'm not sure that they're best equipped to
Mhm.
manage conflict like we are,
Yeah.
or people who are older than us, just because today's society is so instant gratification. And if you don't like something, then just cancel it or, go to something else. The conflict skills, the conflict management skills that we teach today in today's schools just aren't the same, and they're not doing what they need to be doing. And so I really had to learn to coach myself through things. I'm a person of faith, so I had to lean on God extremely, very heavily, and really just pour out my soul to Him and
Yeah.
ask questions. And then I had to wait for answers, and that's difficult to do when you need your answers now.
hmm I talked about that in one of, I think it was the episode. It was a live that I did on YouTube when I was doing my vision board for 2026. And
Yes,
that was one of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the last 2 years of podcasting and doing working in my business and just life in general was that the one thing that I needed to have was patience
yes,
and what to do in that meantime of asking for what you want, praying and waiting for it to show up in your
yes,
life
yes, yes.
and releasing expectations to know sometimes what you ask for is not going to show up the way that you think that it should,
That's
and
right.
being at peace with that. So
Yes.
when you talk about the pivot principle, what
Mhm.
was important for you to communicate to the women and to the mothers in your book?
I think one of the things that I really wanted moms and parents to get through my book was that you can change directions,
Hmm.
and you don't have to do it quickly. There is a method, to changing directions with grace, and changing directions to where it's not overwhelming.
Hmm.
I think in this society we're asked to hustle, and we're asked to do, and we're asked to do it quickly, and so we're changing directions so quickly in our personal lives and our professional lives that sometimes we don't learn from where we just were. And so I give moms and parents a formula that they can implement in 25 to 30 minutes every morning. It's just a simple routine to help kind of make each day intentional, so
Okay.
that you're getting the return on your days,
Hmm.
and you're maintaining your productivity, you're maintaining your goals, your visions, and your visions and your goals are evolving as you go and as you learn more about what you want for your future. And so, yeah, I think people and moms especially need to give themselves grace that change is going to happen, and it's going to happen when you least expect it. So why not have a formula, like a routine that you can depend on to help you get through that?
You are a nationally known and recognized leadership coach. You just talked about the importance of structuring your day and having a formula to that. Could you share, first of all, to be nationally recognized, could you share what that journey was for you? And I also want to get into that formula, the pivot principle, and how
Yeah,
you're able to coach the women that you work with using your pivot principle formula.
sure. So, the national thing that came very unexpected.
Right?
It was after 2018, and I want to say it was 2021 when this happened. I was researching different companies who needed speakers because I wanted to try out this pivot formula on different companies and associations. And someone, through all of my searching and all of my asking questions,
Mhm.
someone reached out to me who was the organizer of a conference for Microsoft.
Oh, wow.
And they asked me if I could do a workshop session on mindfulness and the pivot principle at their leadership summit at Microsoft in Seattle. And I thought, sure, I'll be when do you need me to be there? And so that was my first time on a national stage. It was amazing. And it really let me know that I have a voice, I have a story, and people resonate with the story. So after that, I just came back to Memphis, just ready to share my story with anybody and everybody who had listened, who would listen. And as far as the pivot formula, I can definitely tell you the formula. So it's called the pivot because basketball players, use a certain move on the court using their feet in order to change directions. And it's called the pivot. You have a basketball player has a pivot foot, and it's the foot that they ground themselves on when they're changing directions. So if you think about that, the pivot foot has to have a firm foundation
Mm.
before you can change directions. Once you have a firm foundation, then you're able to look in different directions and see which direction you want to go. And then your pivot foot allows your other foot to launch you forward. And so, again, you're depending on that foundation. So, over the months after that accident, my spirit was just like, Shelley, look into the foot that Anthony had the accident on. And I asked him, I said, what is so special about your foot that, I'm asking you which foot did it happen on? He said, well, I use that foot on the court as my pivot foot. It's, how I change directions. And the
Mm.
moment he said that, I thought, there's something to this word pivot. And so I
Mm.
just took a picture. I took a piece of paper and I put P and then I right below it, V right below it, O and T. Well,
Mm.
prayer, I know I've been praying every single day. So I know that the firm foundation that basketball players use to pivot for me is prayer. That's my firm foundation. And then I is investigation. I had to become an investigator and learn things every single day about how I was going to get Anthony back to normal.
Yeah.
So you could say I is for investigation. You could say it is for inquiry, but basically it's learning something new every day. V, you already touched on it with your vision board. It is visualization. One of the things that athletes do so well, especially the ones that win, is they spend time going over in their heads, visualizing them winning. They also, like Michael Phelps, the swimmer, he
Mm-hmm.
visualized anything and everything that could happen in the swim that would prevent him from winning so that he could prepare for that. So one of the funny things, I interviewed him and he said, one of the things that I envision is what happens if my trunks fall off? I'm swimming so fast that my swimming trunks fall off. He said, I had to envision that because it helped me make sure that my trunk stayed on. I'm like, okay. So he prepared for everything in order to win all of those gold medals. So visualization is the third key. O, I'm going to come back to because it took me 3 years to figure out what O was, but it's so
Mm.
simple. And then T is train. So every day, train your body, train your mind just a little bit. And so now I teach ladies to do the pivot routine in 25 minutes, 5 minutes of prayer, five
Mm-hmm.
minutes of learning something new. It could be a podcast. It could be, looking something up. It could be learning a new recipe. Literally, it is just learn something new today. 5 minutes of visualization. That could be some mindfulness and breathing techniques. It could be, watching a visualization tool like on an app. It could be putting together your vision board. O, O stands for offer. Every day, you need to offer up something for what you want.
Mm.
So, in simple terms, let's say you wanted to lose 10 pounds. What are you going to offer up? I'm going to offer up sweets today. I'm going to offer up my sweet tea today. I'm not going to have sweet tea. I'm going to offer up 30 minutes and I'm going to exchange those 30 minutes for 30 minutes of walking. So
Mm.
you have to be able to sacrifice something every single day in order to intentionally create the day you want.
Mm.
And so O is for offer. And then 10 minutes or 5 minutes a day of training your body, training your mind. So it's 25-minute routine. I prefer to do it in the morning. Just get it over with. And yes, we can all do just 5 minutes of sit-ups or whatever to train your body because we are so busy and we have so many responsibilities. Why not give yourself a good 30 minutes in the morning to be intentional about the rest of your day?
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm gonna come back to that Michael Phelps thing.
Yes.
But first, I wanted to ask you because talking to a lot of women, being a part of a lot of women groups and women communities,
Mhm.
that mindfulness and leadership can be a challenge. We are really taught to cater to others, that we kind of lack the opportunity to see where we can step up and be a leader to ourselves. Coaching women, what did you find was the biggest barrier for women stepping up into that leadership role in their lives?
Mhm. I think one of the barriers that women have, particularly younger women, is they have not discovered what their gifts are.
Yeah,
They
okay.
have not discovered what their gifts are. Either someone has not told them you're good at this,
Mhm.
or they have not had that initial success to let them know that they're good at something. And
Mhm.
so I do spend a good amount of time helping particularly younger women figure out what they're good at. And there are all sorts of personality assessments and all sorts of things out there that you could use. I use one very in particular tool. It's called the Clifton Strengths Assessment.
Okay.
Um, it looks at 26 different personality types,
Mhm.
and you answer like 200 questions, and there is some science to it. It blows my mind when I give someone the assessment and it gives you your 5 top personality gifts.
Okay.
So mine would be I'm a maximizer. That's my number one.
Mhm.
Maximizers, what they do is they leverage people's strengths so that it maximizes their potential and maximizes the situation. So I'm always looking for a win-win. That's kind of a trait of a maximizer. Another gift that I have is I'm an activator. So an
Okay.
activator means you get things done. That's me. I get things done. You give it to me, I'm going to get it done. And I'm going to get it done really well because I'm going to make sure I do not fail at that. So I'm an activator. I get things done. Another strength of mine is communicator. Another strength I have is belief. In other words, if I align myself with, let's say, a nonprofit or an organization that I work with, if I don't share the same values that they have, I'm not going to be very successful because there's always going to be this push and pull of right and wrong. And so belief is one of my gifts that I
Mhm.
have, and I have to leverage that. And then I always forget the fourth one on me.
It's okay.
I always forget it. But in this science of the Clifton Strengths, it also provides people who take the assessment with the type of jobs that would be
Mhm.
great for you. And then it tells you people in history who's been a maximizer, who was an activator, who was a good communicator. And then so now you can start to see, oh, I'm like, I'm just going to pull something. I'm
Yeah.
like Michelle Obama, and she's got the communicator personality, and I do too. Maybe I could do this. I think learning more about yourself is really important for women to know what to elevate, what to leverage, what to use. as they start to embody this leadership role, either an external role or their internal roles. It's really important to know who you are. And so I kind of start with an assessment. I'm a nerd. I will do an assessment in a heartbeat.
It's so funny that you said that because I created a career strategies for success workbook and a online coaching program for youth. I'm
Yes.
not active in that right now, but one of the activities in my workbook is to do the 16 personalities test
Yes. Yes.
to learn about
Yes.
their personality. I myself, I think I took, I don't, it's not, I did take a personality test, but it is, they didn't give me like an activator or something like that. I am an INJF or something like that. So
Yes.
I'm very much an
Yes.
advocate
Yes. Yes.
personality. And so that's a part of my nature.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I can identify with what you're saying because I want to be so comfortable in my business where yes, you do want to monetize your gifts and you want to be comfortable with that, but it's a journey and leadership and learning to take the lead, learning to communicate, learning to when you say offer, learning to ask for what you want, like in knowing that you're worthy of getting and receiving. So it very much is a journey. I always, from the inception of my business, I've always referred to it as a journey. So
Yes.
I've learned a lot along the way. And that's one of the beautiful things about this podcast because other people can come on and share what they've learned about themselves and what they've learned about business along the way. So thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. I appreciate that. That is awesome. You do have a coaching business. It's called
Mhm.
the Pivot. It's called Pivot Well.
Yes.
So could you share in your business who you target or who you prefer to work with?
Yeah, definitely nonprofit associations. We have a lot of those here in Memphis, Tennessee. They're doing great work. And so I love to partner with them. But, when it's one-on-one, I really love to pour into early professionals or early talent. And what that looks like is 15 years old to 35. So
Okay.
15 to 35, that 20-year range. I'm still their senior, if they're 35 years old. And I feel like I've been there, done that for so many things that I can help them, navigate that season in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay. Before I let you go, though, I'm going to ask for you to share all of that information with the audience. But I have two questions for you. Could you share Anthony's journey after the incident and how he was able to recover?
Yes, thank you for asking. He had some great friends during that season. He stayed home for about two months,
Mm-hmm.
and he did all of his academics, right here in his room. In fact, this room, which is the room that I'm in, it's my office. It used to be his bedroom. So he stayed home for 2 months. When he went back to school, all of his friends rallied around him and they, took him to classes, carried his books while he, was either in a wheelchair or walking, with I want to say stilts, but crutches.
Yes. Mhm.
And they were so supportive of him. 3 months later, he told me, "Mom, I want to get back on the court." And
Really?
yeah, my heart was just beating so fast because the doctor said he'll never walk again with a straight gait. He'll never
Mm-hmm.
be able to run again. He won't feel that balance that you need from having a big toe. It just won't be there. And he defied all the odds. So
Oh, dang.
after Christmas, there was a new basketball league in the community. He signed up for it. I took him to every practice, and he was amazing on the court. I have so much video of him on the court and just being a ham, so excited to be back on the court. Um, After that, he never made the team again, but it's okay because I got my son back who loved basketball. And what it did for him is it changed the trajectory of what happened after high school. So we
Mm,
had all these plans of him going to college, and he was going to be in the reserves part time to get those military benefits. And he was just going to do all the things. And that's not really where he wanted to go anyway. Mom,
yeah.
that was mom's dream. And so now he is a certified mechanic technician, and
Okay.
he works for his dream car, Porsche. So he works for,
Okay. I want
no,
one.
he is doing all the things. He's carrying the load himself. He's got a house. He's 24 years old, and he loves his life. And he's just doing great. I'm so proud of him. Um, I think the life that he has now is exactly where he wanted to be. And had he done the life that we were planning, that I was planning,
Uh-huh.
I think that he would have been miserable. He would have been unhappy, and something would have been missing. And so, not to say that I'm glad this happened, not at all, but it's amazing what God can do when he puts us on another path. And he's just amazing, and I'm so glad that you asked about him. Thank you.
I love that. You know what? Because life has a, like you said, it has a way of shifting
Yes,
and the resilience, I appreciate that. I love that here that he is doing well. I
he's doing
love that.
great. He's doing great.
He'll be coming out with a book soon. It talks about
Yes.
his journey.
Uh, the first thing is getting him to read this book.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's a 24-year-old. He doesn't want to read a book right now.
Living life. Not right now.
That's right. That's right.
So let's talk about Michael Phelps. You had an opportunity to interview him. That is so amazing. I want to hear about that.
Isn't that crazy? So it was a short, 10-minute conversation, and he just talked about how he used visualization to win
Yeah.
his gold medals. And, he was very intentional and diligent about visualizing everything that could happen in the pool.
Hmm.
And I learned that when he was a little boy, he was afraid of the water. And so he would intentionally put his face in the water because he was afraid of it. And so he just wanted to be one with the water. And I thought, this is amazing. This teaches resilience. This guy is so much deeper than we ever thought.
Listen, I love it already. I love it
Yes,
already.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I'm going to ask you, please, before I ask my final question, share with the audience where we can find the pivot principle
Mhm.
and where we can learn more about Pivot Well Incorporated.
Sure. So for my coaching business and any other resources that I have, you can go to my website, which is www.shelleykemp.com. And Shelley is spelled with an E, so it's SHELLEYKEMP.com. I tell everybody, put that extra E in there because I am so extra. And you can find me on Facebook, Shelley Kemp or Shelley Carruth Kemp. That's my maiden name. I'm really well known on LinkedIn. I'm a professional by day, so definitely connect with me on LinkedIn and then Instagram. You can look up the Pivot Principle or you can look up Shelley Kemp, but I will be there. And then the Pivot Principle is anywhere online where books are sold, Amazon, of course. My publisher is Hope Books, so you could go to Hope Books and get it. And then this year I'm doing a tour, 10 cities in 10 months. We started out in Houston 2 weeks ago. Memphis is next. Pittsburgh is in April. And we have about seven more cities to book. So we're excited.
Okay. Now you
Yeah.
mentioned resources. I want to ask, what additional resources do you have available for anyone who might be
Yeah.
interested?
So I have a devotional. It's called the Hope Devotional. I am one of many authors for that particular for that particular devotional, but it's offered there. My children's books are there, and I'm writing a devotional that will go with the pivot principle. It will first be offered on my website as well.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Did we give out the website?
Yes, the
Okay.
Shelley.com. Yes,
Shelly.com. All
that's
right.
right.
Well, absolutely. Anyone who is interested can definitely go into the show notes. We'll make sure it's there and you can reach out to Dr. Shelley.
Yes.
All right. So, on the outro, I ask all of my guests if you can share some words of wisdom that can help them along their journey of pursuing their infinite possibilities.
I think the one thing that I want to share is connect with someone on your journey. There are people that want to help you, whether it's a mentor or your own personal coach. All you have to do is open your mouth and ask, because there are people that you need on your team to be successful and to help pump you up. Every athlete has their own coach. Why do you think that is? It's so they can perform at their best. And you deserve to work and live at your best. And so, why not bring somebody with you? Enlist a coach, enlist a mentor. And when I say coach, they don't have to have the title life coach or business coach. They just need to be your coach. So, someone who can pour into you, encourage you, give you advice. And don't be afraid to ask for that help, because there are people who want to see you succeed. Even if you don't know them yet or are in their circle yet, there's someone that wants to see you succeed. And so you need to find them and put them in your corner.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Dr. Shelley.
You are so welcome. It was a pleasure.
So, with that, you hang on. I'm going to send you off the right way, but everyone else, we will see you next episode. Take care, everyone.